excited about our call today. I want to welcome everybody to the Clear Channel. For those of you guys that are, obviously in the car, be safe. We got an incredible guest speaker today, and I see guys in the office in the back there. Gene, I want you to turn around. There's a few new faces in the room. You know what you do here, Gene. Gene, Nikolai, I see you guys. So turn around, tell them to grab out their cell phone. We know they were on YouTube this morning. Go to Clear Channel, K-L-E-A-R channel. I'm waiting, Gene. I'm waiting. You got to get at least two or three, and get them to subscribe to the Clear Channel. I see him back in the corner there. I see him. You look around the other side, the other way, Gene. All right. Very good. All right, guys, happy Friday. So we have a guest speaker today, a very good friend of mine, Yanik Williams. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her bio here, and I'm going to tell you a bit about my experience when we met years ago. But so I'll tell you, Yanik is from Michigan. Well, not really, but she went to school in Michigan at the University of Michigan. So for all you Michigan Wolverines in the room, there's a fellow alumni. She studied classical music. She started her first business at 22 years old in our organization. After several years of running her business, she decided to move to the back end side of the business, navigating the mental and strategic game of entrepreneurship. She's known for her ability to bring people together and accomplish their goals. And I asked her if I should say this, but she's owned by a Rottweiler Brun. How do you even say that? Rottweiler Brun.
Bruno.
Bruno, and an R&B producer, her husband Pierre, who I went to see them get married in Mexico a few weeks ago, which was amazing. She enjoys her free time dancing and complaining about the music wherever she goes. But I will tell you my experience with Yanik. So I hired her back in Atlanta when she was 21? 21, yeah. 21 years old. She started off doing the outside sales, the door-to-door with AT&T. Maybe it was a Bell South or AT&T? I don't remember.
It was Bell South.
It was going to Bell South before AT&T bought Bell South. I remember the first time I met her mom. We met at a where were we at?
Boston Market.
I was gonna say Boston Market. See a chicken place, Boston Market, and her mom walks up to me, grabs my hand, shakes it, squeezes it really hard, and she goes, "What kind of scam you got my daughter into?" And I was like, Mom. And then next thing you know, she is, obviously learning the business, doing amazing. And the meeting with mom at her wedding this time, many years later, wasn't the same. She's like, hugging me and thanking me and everything else. And listen, I had nothing to do with it. Yanik's amazing in her own right. So Yanik, I just want to say welcome to Clear Channel. Thanks for jumping on this morning. Obviously, you've had an awesome career in our organization and our business in general. But happy Friday.
Happy Friday, everyone. Happy Friday. Glad to meet all of you, see all of you. Some familiar faces. Hey, Tanya. She was with the crazies at my wedding as well. So, yeah.
Good times. And so Yanik, tell us about our childhood growing up and getting into, obviously you're in music and you're in the Atlanta Symphony, I remember.
The Atlanta Symphony Youth Orchestra. Yes. Okay.
So tell us about that and why was it a performance-based business was so exciting for you?
Well, I'm an Army brat, so I've lived everywhere from Germany to South Carolina, Georgia, everywhere that you can think of, right? And but as a young kid, I always enjoyed music and I loved to perform. So, I got into classical music, really, really young. I did play sports, track, basketball, all those things, but music was really, really my thing, right? I guess I have just a self-deprecating tendency to be yelled at and criticized, or something like that, right? But I got into classical music really early. I played in orchestras, youth orchestras, all over Georgia, from the Atlanta Symphony Youth Orchestra to the Metropolitan Youth Orchestra. And then I went on to study classical music in college. at the University of Michigan School of Music, Theater, and Dance, go Blue. And, I've always done something. I've always performed. I've always been active, and I've never just sat anywhere. It was always like, okay, do my schoolwork, whatever, let's rush to orchestra practice, or let's go to track practice, let's play basketball. And so the idea of doing anything and sitting for hours just would have been extremely daunting for me. I don't know what I would have done, right? And so getting started, one thing that I love was the fact that I was busy all day, and it was definitely okay for me to have some sort of like goal, in classical music, it's always like, okay, this is the next goal. This is the next step. This is what's next, and you just keep going, keep practicing, and you keep improving, never endingly. And I felt that same thing in sales and in our company, where, there was always another place to reach, another area of improvement. And also the coaching and development part, I've been coached my entire life, whether it was from my private teachers to conductors to everyone else, always receiving feedback and always having someone, guide me along the way. So this just kind of went right along with that.
Made sense. So, and is it true? I think we talked about this once, that in the symphony, in the Atlanta Symphony, there's seniority.
Oh, definitely.
Right. So how did you move up? Because how did you grow in it? Right. So, and I remember talking about this. I was like, what?
Well, think about it like this, right? If you want to be a professional musician, especially classical, it's like making it into the NFL, except for no one really ages out. Okay. You get what I'm saying? So, and when they do, they age out in like their 70s. You know what I mean? Like, people can continue to play, and they get better and better and better. But it's not like they get bad knees at 35 or something like that. You know what I mean? So they just never age out. So the people who are great, you either have to beat them, and remember, they've got 30, 40 years experience on you, or you have to wait until they retire. And who's going to retire from the NFL once you've worked so hard to get there? Right. They never do. They never do. So it's extremely competitive, and you've got to be willing to kind of get into that, unless you're a prodigy, and most of them just kind of go on tour.
Interesting. And obviously, and you ended up marrying a man in music.
Yes, so, which I said I would never do. I promise you guys, I said I would never, ever, ever in my life date or marry a musician. And guess what I did? The exact thing I said I wouldn't do.
Right. And Pierre, and not to get too much into Pierre, but doesn't he manage a bit of Usher stuff, right? Isn't there a story around Usher?
Yeah, his last, he worked on, and he did Usher's last single, Bad Habits. So if you ever go to his show in Vegas, you'll hear them, and they say like, Mador, 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 and that's like his tag. I guess my tag now. Now I'm a Mador, so I can claim the tag, I guess, maybe.
And is it true he still won't introduce you to Usher?
I don't know. I'll have to ask him. He's in the other room right now, but he was definitely hating the first time, So guys, one day I was like with him, and we were like he was finishing up a session or something like that, and I was meeting him at the studio. And so we walk out, and he's like, "What's up, Usher?" And so I'm thinking like, hey, Pierre always introduces me to everyone. So I'm like behind him like this, like, Pierre's here. I'm like, and the introduction never happened. Never happened. They just tap up, leave. And I was like, why didn't you introduce me? He's like, you don't introduce your girl to Usher? Period.
I don't blame him.
Yeah, I don't blame him. I mean, that's not the person you introduce him to. So, so that day may never come, but that's okay.
That's awesome. So tell us about, so in your business career now, you coach a lot of young people in sales, you coach a lot of people in business that are entrepreneurs.
Yes.
What have you learned about people that, that do well, and people that may struggle? Any thoughts or tips around, especially younger in their career, some things that you would share if maybe looking back on your own career?
Yeah, people who do well are highly coachable, and they just listen. You know, I say this all the time. Sometimes the smartest people have the hardest time, like myself. Okay. Just because a lot of times we have to do everything trial by fire, but the people who are successful and they're successful early on, they just treat coaching like a roadmap. Okay, this is what I do. Boom, go. And I'll tell you, some of my most successful clients who are like crazy top earners, part of the 1 to 3%, whatever, they're not people that are trying to figure everything out. They just want people around them that have the answers, and they're like, tell me what to do. And part of it is because they don't have time to figure it out. And they're just at that point where they're like, look, I don't have time to start from scratch. Give me the detour. Tell me what to do. What do I need to put in place and how much does it cost? And they just get it done. They're like, look, I got to get my kids. I got this. I don't have time to figure out anything new. Just tell me what to do. And that's really early. And the second thing is just they have great habits. And that's the one thing that no one wants to hear. But having great habits, it just frees up your mental space and your time. So like any of you guys, like, and maybe, I hope y'all aren't on mute. Yeah, you are. But you can unmute yourself if you like. But any of you guys ever like lost your keys in the morning? And
that literally happened to me.
Like, yeah.
Wednesday when I was trying to go golfing.
Yeah, and so like I don't think Ken loses his keys, but Ken's very organized, right? But for the rest of us.
So for the record, I did Wednesday morning, and I won't say who was involved the night before in driving my vehicle. I'm just saying the keys were misplaced.
Okay, but they weren't misplaced by him. I'm sure. But like something simple like that, can it not throw off your whole day? Just that one thing, suddenly you're frustrated, you're late, you missed an appointment, you're frazzled. And then when you get stressed, you're not thinking properly because all this cortisol and everything is just pumping into your brain. And so you're reacting to things. And next thing you know, you either have to like woosah and find a way to like get back on track, or, just kind of wrangle it through the day, right? Just something small like that. So imagine, if your whole life is filled with habits that just don't serve what your goal is. That means you're living your whole life ineffectively, just pushing against the grain, trying to figure things out. So I think those two things, coachability and just finding a way to wrangle those habits together, and that's the beginning of it.
Yeah, so true. To your point about the simplicity of keys. And I think the thing is we all go through stages of our lives, right? Where there's pain, mm-hmm. and there's stages of pleasure, and there's stages of great relationships, there's stages of not so great relationships. And I've learned, as much as I'd like to tell my boys not to touch the stove because it's hot and they're going to burn their hands, they remember when they do it. Yeah. And I try to tell them, to your point about the detour, I can walk people through things and I say, hey, don't do this. And they still do it. And some are capital offenses, right? Some just eliminate them from business altogether. And then some are not, and they just kind of learn and they get better, mm-hmm. right? And and it's super, super hard. But getting a keychain and putting it by your door on the way out, that simple move will help, because when I walk in, I hang up my keys.
Right.
And that's it. I never lose them. And the funny thing is,
I have thousands of those little things, because I'm not a naturally organized person. So I have to like do all these little things to make sure that it happens.
Yep. And it's so funny because the house I bought was a doctor in Beaumont, and he retired after 30 years, moved to Florida. That is what he left in one of the little things besides the piano. He left that in our house, is the little keychain hanging, which is funny, right? Of all things. So tell me about leadership. Any big challenges you had when you started at 21 years old in your career? You ran a business at 22 years old. I said recently, your age is not your cage. Some people use their, being too old or being too young or whatever. Sometimes people, they don't have the confidence issue. So clearly, that wasn't your age was not your cage, being a young entrepreneur. What any tips about leadership or things you had to learn being so new into your career?
I would say, because at the end of the day, I definitely was confident at that age, but I still had a lot of growing up to do, you know? And I love the fact that I started that early, because I learned a lot of leadership lessons, hard, tough lessons, right? Pretty early, that now I help entrepreneurs with now, because I learned them so early. I would say just focus on having great character and just doing what is necessary, you know? And I will say this, it is more important to be effective than to be right. You know what I mean? So where there's been times where you may have to swallow your words, hold back a little bit, take the nice route, be supportive, because that's always more effective leadership than anything else. Because leadership is just your ability to influence people. And there's certain things that will take away from your ability to influence. One is if when you lose your patience. Another one is criticizing. You know, no one wants to be around someone who's constantly criticizing or extremely critical. Just having good habits, meaning being dependable, you know. And then another one is just being authentic and honest, you know. And if you could do those things and show a great example, be whoever you're around, their white rabbit, you're going to lead and you're going to do extremely, extremely well. Just stay away from the habits that make you ineffective, criticizing, you know, being what I call absent or inconsistent. Because when you're inconsistent, you might as well just be absent. You know what I mean? Things of that nature. Stay away from that and just do your best. You know, sometimes people are afraid to lead because they think they have to be perfect. I don't think you have to be perfect. I think people just need to be able to see your heart and your authenticity and your desire to get it done. And you'd be amazed at how many people are able to lead extremely effective organizations and businesses, because they're just good people who have a strong desire to get the job done, and the people around them feel that and they just want to be a part of it.
So obviously I've seen you grow a ton.
Yeah.
An absolute ton. So it's interesting to hear you talk about patience.
Right.
Because I think we could agree that wasn't part of your repertoire early in your career.
No, not at all. Oh my gosh. I was like the least patient person you can ever. I was be so mean and so impatient with certain people. Like, but I have a saying now, right? And sometimes I'm embarrassed when people tell old stories of things that I did. And I'm like, oh gosh, I don't remember this because I probably blocked it out subconsciously, but it feels really true. But I have a saying now that has proven to be true over and over and over again. Okay. The person or the people that will completely transform your business are also the people who are going to get on your last nerve. Okay. They're never the people you want to be best friends with. They're never the people that just are like, you're like, oh, it's so-and-so. These are the people that are like, oh gosh, what is it today? What did I do wrong? What did I say wrong? What do they need? What are their suggestions? Whatever, right? And that requires a lot of patience and a lot of maturity to recognize that. You know, the people who grew the most of my teams, and even in life now, the people that help me the most are nothing like me. And they push every button that I have, but they're also the people that keep me growing and keep me on point. But you have to have a lot of patience and maturity to recognize that. And especially now, I'm seeing, you know, a lot of my clients are struggling with recruiting. And the big portion of that is, it's not that the people aren't coming in, they're just not recognizing the gems when they come in because they're not exactly like them. You get what I'm saying? But the key to growth is having a lot of diversity, meaning people with different personalities, different backgrounds, and just different ways of seeing and doing things. So that way, whatever you lack, you can kind of lean on that person, you know, and, you know, going back and forth. Does that make sense?
100%. 100%. And to be fair, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but you met me a few years back.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Right?
At least 10 years ago, minimum.
Right? A while. So even closer to, I mean, 2000, when did you start in the business?
Like 2008.
Yeah, so almost 14 years ago, which is crazy.
That is crazy.
Right. So who I was, and listen, I'm authentic enough to admit, I'm sure you were around the group of friends and leaders and things when I was stumbling back from the bar because I couldn't get home right. And some of these guys in the office today, I don't even really go out to the bars anymore. You know what I mean?
He doesn't. Don't worry, he put his time in, guys. If you're wondering why he doesn't go out, he put his time in. He left nothing, no stone unturned. Let's say that. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
It just is what it is. And we all go through that stage of our life, right? To your point, I drink water now because I think I'm still detoxing from my 20s. You know what I mean? So it's like, it just is what it is. But, we all grow, we all make changes, and we hopefully learn from, all those experiences, right? So one of the things I appreciate about you, Yanik, is when you do work with, a lot of entrepreneurs and people, obviously I help coach too sometimes, is you really help people remove their limiting beliefs, remove, going from, maybe they're making $10,000 a week, which is, great money running a business, to maybe 30,000 a week or 50,000 or even 100,000 a week. So any thoughts around you can share with, again, people young in their careers about just removing limiting beliefs?
I mean, this is how one day I woke up and I was like, hey, Yanik, you've been living this life in this cage, but really you're the only person who created all these rules of like how much money you can make, what this looks like, what your lifestyle looks like. Like no one said any of that is true. And it's up to you to remove this. And once I had that epiphany, I just looked around me and I just saw like, wow, it wasn't just me. Everyone else is living in this society, in this mental society, where there's just all these rules that they've kind of absorbed, but no one actually gave to them. You know what I mean? And it's this idea of what is supposed to happen. And really, it's just like what we observed, But like, how many of you guys want the lifestyle that you've necessarily observed? Unless you've just had the privilege of being around some really amazing people who have seen incredible amounts of success, who live their lives, financially, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally free. I don't know. That's just very rare. And, from what I've experienced with human beings. And so what I find is that we all operate by these rules, right? And the problem with these rules is that there's evidence around them and around you that makes it feel real. So for instance, I was working with one business owner to where they had like this huge, challenge where they had a lot of credit card debt. And they were like, oh my gosh, it's so much money, it's going to take me forever to pay it off. And this was like a huge stressor for this person. And I said, well, who said you can't pay it off? It's like, oh, it's a lot of money. It's like $40,000 or whatever. I said, yeah, $40,000 in credit card debt is really expensive for someone making $40,000 a year. But I said, not as an entrepreneur. I was like, if you wanted to, you could put $3,000 a week on that and you'd be done, within a few months, because what's the whole point of becoming an entrepreneur if you have to live with the same constraints as everyone else? And so instead of thinking of everything as far as growth and like, all these things, we just thought of it like, okay, what do we have to do to make sure you have an extra $3,000 every week, to where no matter what, we're going to call your bookkeeper, we're going to do this, no matter what, you're going to pay $3,000 off a week. And this person actually ended up paying off way more than that and ended up paying it all off within a few months. And so, but it's just about deciding what it is that you want, changing the rules, and then creating a strategy to fit the rule that you want to make about your life, not about what everyone else wants to make, and if that's a big deal for you, that's cool. And part of it was a perspective change for this person. I said, really, $40,000 in debt isn't a lot. I said, I know businesses that operate on $1 million worth of debt a year, and that's their business model, And he's like, really? And I'm like, yeah. I said, so to them, $40,000 worth of debt, and they're thinking, I don't have enough growth tools. I haven't bought enough equipment. I haven't done anything to stay ahead. But it's all a matter of perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to share a little bit, Yanik, this is, I hope you're okay with me sharing this, but I just found this picture. If you guys want to know the wedding,
the vibe at the wedding.
Yeah,
Oh,
this is,
it's so nice.
yeah, this is her getting married on the beach in Mexico. What
Yes.
was the name of that resort?
Secrets Akumal, Riviera Maya. No, Secrets Akumal. Yeah, Secrets
Yeah.
Akumal.
So one of the prettiest places my wife and I have been to this year, for sure. And I was super excited
It
to
was
be there.
really fun. It's beautiful. If any of you guys are thinking of getting married at any point soon, go there. Yeah.
Yep, it was awesome. And the interesting thing is, so you work with Brandy pretty closely, right? And Brandy's
Yes.
self-made millionaire, and obviously she's big mentor to you. And I remember, I saw Brandy one time with her black card, right? The Amex no limit, card that she has, and I'm like, Brandy, how do you get one of those cards? She's like, oh, you get invited, you got to be a multimillionaire, blah blah. And I was like, no limit, huh? I was like, yeah, you got to spend, I think, like 250,000 a year or something on the
Yeah,
card.
it's a big
And
deal.
yeah, and that's the minimum requirement just to even
Yeah, to
have the
keep
card,
it.
right?
Yeah.
To keep it. And I'm like, Brandy, how did you 250,000? That's like 12 months. That's like 20 grand. What are you buying? She goes, well, here, let me tell you about my January. I had to get this for the house. I got Super Bowl tickets. I got blah blah. And I'm like, oh shit, you spent 40 grand in January. She's like, yeah. So I kill it every year.
I was gonna say I would jump off of a bridge if I saw Brandy with a $20,000 bill. I'm like, girl, are you eating? That's what I would think. Are you guys starving? Yeah.
So nuts. So tell me this. So obviously it's coming up on 10:30. Anything life lessons wise, anything you want to share with people, especially in our organization that want to get up into management potentially, maybe run a market, run a location, any books you would recommend, things like that.
I mean, I don't even know where to start. There's so many books. I mean, you guys follow me on Instagram at Yanik W, and I'll put all that stuff on there. But if I would say anything, I was thinking about this the other day, is this is a really, really great time to be in our business, to be in sales, for more than one reason. One, mentality wise. If you look online, everyone's like, oh, I just got to take a break from working. Oh, I got to do this. Oh, I got to do that. And it's like, and I'm like, okay, do what you need to do, right? But it's definitely like a mindset that has like softened a little bit, which is okay. But the rule to life is when everyone goes left, you go right. When everyone else goes right, you go left. So this is a perfect time to be in a place where you can build your skills. Most importantly, especially if there's a lot of leaders, in the group, build your mentality. The world is going to need more leaders. They're going to need more entrepreneurs. And I hate to say it, but entrepreneurs aren't soft. They can't be. Entrepreneurs and leaders are the people who see a challenge and decide to make an opportunity out of it and cultivate it. And if you need a nap every time you see a challenge, you may not be, best suited for that. And so this is a good time to learn how to be that, because the same way we have a shift of people that are leaving working, that means that there's going to be a gap of leadership that happens within the next, I would even say 2 to 5 years of people who need to fill all of these roles. And you've got to make sure that your mentality is in the right place, your mind, your mindset, your skills, your experiences are in the right place to where when these opportunities come and leadership is needed and people are calling on leaders, you're ready to answer. Because there's going to be a lot of people who are not ready just because they haven't really trained enough to do it. So it's a really, really good time, and embrace that. Don't get caught up in pop culture and everything else. See the opportunities, and remember that opportunities are always in the gaps. People always leave gaps, and that's where the opportunities always lie. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I read an article yesterday. Bank of America just put out that they're predicting a recession, where they were predicting in 12 months. Now they're predicting in less than 6 months, just based on all the interest rates and the banks and everything.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, in the world of business, when you're young and you're in some of these organizations and they got to cut back their payroll, well, they're going to be cutting back not the most tenured people all the time. They often cut the last ones in, right? Last in, first out kind of thing. And fortunately, in our business, when you're a performer, and we're a performance-based business, they're going to need us more than ever. So
yeah, and remember, recessions only matter when you don't have cash. And all of you guys are in a position to get cash every day. that's all we do every day is monetize. So, I mean, not that we lack compassion for other people, but I've been around since the 2000. I started in the 08 recession and we didn't feel it. We saw it on the news, but it wasn't something that like we necessarily felt, you know. I just saw it on the news and I was like, oh man, this kind of sucks. But I didn't know any better, so.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Yanik. Everyone take your cell phones and your computers and things off mute. Say thank you to Yanik.
Thank you, Yanik.
Thank you.
Thank you.